Impro Theater and the cast and crew of this online performance would like to take this time to honor the indigenous peoples of the ancestral and unceded homelands we each inhabit, and to consider the legacy of colonization. In Los Angeles, we pay our respect to the Gabrielina Tongva peoples. Impro Theater supports the promotion of an anti-racist world, where we recognize diversity, equity, and inclusion as central to our values. We are listening, learning, and growing. We invite you to join us in taking action wherever we can to create a more just world. First of all, thank you for joining us for Impro Talk. It was very nice that you agreed to come on and chat and gab
Of course.
about anything,
Yes.
you'd like.
Mhm.
But just to get a lay of the land, you are a Nigerian born, and do you call yourself a Ghanaian American, or
Well, typically it's Nigerian because I'm just going to say it. We are problematic on that side more. So I should just, it's kind of like letting people know if you're that problematic Southerner, where the Ghanaians are the good ones. And, that,
wow, I didn't know that really.
I should just let them know. I should put it out into the ether because it is what it is. And I was born in Nigeria, I'm 75% Nigerian, so I gotta lead with that.
Uh, and so I know that you had a big family. I had a big family too. There were seven of us, and then mom and dad and dogs and stuff. Um, so where do you fit in the
in
pecking
the
order?
in the order. I want to know your order, but like, okay, for me, I'm the first girl. So there's four boys first, and then me, and then my youngest sister. However, because I'm the first girl, I feel like the oldest,
Yeah,
even though I'm not.
yeah, because you were
For
made to be responsible for your older brother's nonsense.
Yeah, and I think being a Leo, I welcomed. I was like, I'm going to take the nonsense on, and like, I feel like my brothers didn't ask, like,
Right. They
you
didn't
know,
they didn't want this punk telling them what to do
what
and
to
how to do
do.
it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember. Wow, I remember when I came to this country. I had this very, very thick accent, and all of my American cousins that I was raised with, they just thought I was so odd because I was so pro-African.
Mm,
It's like, what do you mean? My accent is funny. Huh? Like I was the
yeah.
opposite of like trying to erase myself. I was like, and it makes sense. I was teased very badly until the teenage years because I held on. I held on
Yeah.
for dear life, and then I
Good for
lost the
you.
accent. Do you think so?
Absolutely. I wish
Really?
I look back. Listen, I have of Irish extraction, and I hated when people would say something, like you're such a pale-skinned Irish potato eater, blah blah blah, and I'd be like, I hated it, and then I wish I would have just
Oh,
fought. I wish I would have just fought back and said like, put them up.
I got in so
Um,
much trouble, Mike.
did you?
I got in trouble from the school, from my peers. Like my mom would be
How
like, "Oh,
Marion? How old were you when you came to the States?
oh, okay." So I was 6 going on 7. So
Right.
6 going on 7.
That is a fighting age. That is a
You think so? Yeah,
fierce, I think, oh yeah. I think that's a
okay.
fierce age.
Because I think I
Uh,
was already a formed, you know, baby human adult. Like I was
yeah,
already kind of like I had my beliefs,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. They say, I mean, psychologists say 6 is the age of reason. 6 is the age
Oh,
that you can, right from wrong and all that sort of thing. I mean, this is probably widely disputed. Listen, you guys, this is not a psychology show, and I just used guys when I should have said people. I don't know what
yeah.
listen.
It's wonderful. It makes me think when you say that, I go, oh, that makes sense. There's a reason why I said Americans. You can shove your pizza because I have my jollof rice.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I was like that. I was like, what is why mashed potatoes? Why do you guys put gravy? I don't understand it. I don't want it.
Tell me about what were the jollof fries? What was it? Tell me
We
about
have
those.
jollof rice. We have goat meat
Well,
fried.
help me out with the jollof fries first.
Okay,
What's that?
jollof rice is I like to say it's like paella
Okay,
without the meat and seafood. So I think
I'm with you.
I don't know, what do you think? Every culture has like a great rice with tomato thing.
Yeah,
And jollof rice is a West African situation. It's like the Trojan War, to be honest, because
yeah,
again, my Ghanaian side will say they have the best jollof rice.
sure.
And Nigerians, we say on that side, we have the best jollof rice. So
Okay.
it's caused a lot of trouble, that jollof rice.
Um, yeah, yeah, okay. All right. I mean, I don't want to get in the way of I'm only familiar. I'm somewhat familiar with Ethiopian food, but
Ooh,
that's
it's
yeah,
delicious.
but it's not the same.
It's not. It's not.
Um, okay, so you're 6, and I think your parents were college professors.
Yeah, yeah. My pops is a nuclear physicist.
Good Lord.
Good lord,
Um, that is amazing.
right?
And did they get jobs in America, and that's why you came over?
Well, kind of, sort of. Yes, yes.
Okay,
Like,
fair enough.
mom studied at the University of Stout on a Fulbright scholarship. So, like, the American government is like, "Ooh, you speak 6 languages, and you want to teach kids? Come here, and
Wow.
we'll give you a master's in education for that for
Wow.
free." You know. So my mom was like, "Psh, "Yeah," and
6 languages.
yeah, like my
That
mom, she was so cool. She was so cool.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And
That
then,
is
yeah.
yeah. And Stout in Wisconsin?
Yeah, the University of Stout. I
Yeah.
just, when I think of Stout, I think of the Amish and a lot of white people and flat grounds.
Did you did you did you live there for a while? Did you
I,
live?
so I came like at the end of my mom's schooling situation. So she finished her master's in a year and a half.
Okay. That's
Because
fast.
she's a mother
Yeah.
of 6 kids. And so I
Yeah.
think she was just like, her brain was not thinking, oh, this is a, excursion. Or I think her brain was like, I got to do this so then I can continue momming,
Yeah.
you know?
Um so so I'm from Wisconsin, just
I remember you said
full
so.
disclosure, yeah. And like, even I grew up in Madison, which is it's a small city. It's 250,000 or something, smallish city, but it's
Mm.
very cosmopolitan because the University of Wisconsin in Madison is a very international school, but you, for a minute there with your mom's job, were in Menominee, Wisconsin, which is
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. The only person I've ever heard say that was my mom.
Oh,
That's it. That's the only reason
oh,
why I know that name. I wouldn't know it any other way. So
yeah.
that was great. Thank you for that.
So you're welcome. So that's like middle of the state. So if Wisconsin is shaped like this, it's sort of middle. It's sort of middle of the state, and then close to Minnesota, right? So it gets very
Mm.
cold, and that's I can't believe. I mean, that's amazing hearing that you lived there for a minute, because I'm like, wow, that was cold and a small town, and that must have been culture shock.
It was awful. Awful. And but that's from a very, again, I'm a problematic African girl, now a problematic African woman. It is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Own it.
but like, but like, um, we stayed in Chicago because Dad worked at the nuclear physics at the nuclear lab there in the National Argon Lab, the National Argon
Ah,
Lab.
right. Okay.
So that's the cold I've really experienced.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we
That's
lived, yeah,
That's
and
Lake
that was
Michigan
awful.
cold. That's the wind. That's what's the Windy City. That's why. Yes. Oh man. So you.
So
Wow.
I was
That.
like, I was like, why? Why are we here? Why? Like all the time.
Um. And how long did you stay there before coming west?
We stayed, I think, from my memory, I could be wrong. It felt like almost 2 years,
Mm,
because mom basically finished her degree and then got hired in the Los Angeles area very quickly at
yeah.
the Compton Unified School District.
Yeah.
So, and my dad, being I don't think he would call himself a feminist, but I would, because like, just by nature of allowing your
Oh, for a
wife with
second.
6 kids.
Sorry. For a second, I thought you were gonna say he wouldn't call himself. I thought you were being. Yeah. No. Right. I get it. Yes.
Like, he
So
would not. Because
I get it.
I don't think he would. But I think by the nature of him allowing, I'm saying allowing because, you know, Africa, like, you're a mother of 6 or a mother of 5 at that time, because they had my
Yeah.
sister here. Like, why, how you allowed your wife to come here, by herself, study, and then take the job here. That requires, I think, a greater thought process as a man,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It sounds like he's a really cool and open-minded guy, even if he wouldn't necessarily admit to being sort of a feminist or pro-feminist or whatever it is.
absolutely not in my, like,
Fantastic.
my dad is very much like a man's man, and my mother's side of the family is like matriarchal and very womany, and so him in that space is always like oil and water. The
Mm.
women are like, it's a man, and my dad's like, ah, and I'm like the little girl in the between that's like, he's a teddy bear, y'all. He's a teddy bear. I'm sure he's roaring, but he's roaring because he like totally thinks y'all are cool, and they're like, no. They're
Oh my
like,
gosh.
oh my God, like in Black Panther, the Dora, the bald ladies.
Yeah, yeah.
My aunts are not bald, but like, that's the energy
That's
they come with.
the fierceness that they have.
You know what I mean?
I do. That is a lovely and rich description. So do you think that would you just say that you grew up in LA, or how do you say I grew up, or I how do you
How do I
sort of like
explain
blend
it?
how do you blend your early childhood with then the move here and et
Yeah.
cetera?
I always say, I'm sure every immigrant that's like come here would probably say something similar. It's like a weird combination, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm super African. And then when I was also here, my parents like insulated us with our Nigerian community, right? So it's like the only place where I feel like America smacked me in the face
Oh
was
gosh.
either at school or through media.
Yeah.
But like my weekends and like my most, those like off school time was with
Mm.
parents and like our community. And so that's very much a big part of my experience. But also, hear my voice. My voice will tell you, right? I grew up in the Valley and in Orange County. So this is what the Valley in Orange County does, right? Like but then also my mom was a principal in Compton Unified School District. So that's what this does as well. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you just have to listen to my voice to hear where all of those things come from. And then me, being forever an African girl, when I'm excited or when I'm upset, that accent, that accent comes in like boom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your roots.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how all those different influences and backgrounds help you form characters, right? So, because that I'm sure that's critical. But I also want to talk about uh, the the seesaw or the dichotomy that you felt when you had
Mm.
this like loving family, a big family and a loving family, and super brainy, super smart parents, and siblings to look up to and to sort of care for. I hear the baby,
Yeah.
um,
You can bring her if she wants.
Amina, um, and and yes, here comes the baby. You guys,
She's like, I want to know what's going
gonna
on.
be a baby
I
on the
hear,
show.
look at her face. She was just cooing, crying, and now she's like,
Hi, hi, Amina. How's it going?
hello. We
Um,
see, we recognize your existence.
um,
Hmm.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cute. Tell me about the name Amina Kiara.
Oh, okay. So Amina's heritage is right, African and also Italian. So I was born in Zaria, which is the northern part of Nigeria. Also, the state is called Kaduna State. And where I was born in Zaria, um, BC ago, there was this fierce warrior princess or warrior queen named Queen Amina. And Zaria used to be called Zao Zao. And so she was the Queen Amina, the warrior princess of Zao Zao, which is where I was born. And
Cool.
so I just thought she should have a really dope name.
Well, you did it.
And then Chiara is the Italian part. And since she has her father's last name, I was like, you're gonna have two Italians at the end. So can I have the first one?
Yes,
You know what I mean?
please.
It's
Yes.
fair.
So cute. There's a question, Marian, from our viewers.
Oh, okay.
We are recording our interview February 13th, 2021 for anybody in the future. What is the future like? And one of our live viewers asked, is Marian's family from a specific ethnic group in Nigeria, for example, Yoruba, Hausa, or Igbo?
Igbo.
Igbo.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm Yoruba, and those three languages is a part of the six languages that my mother spoke, and so she spoke, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, and those are the three most common. Again, see, we problematic up in these streets, so I like to say full disclosure. The Yorubas are most likely the most problematic, and then leading with the Hausas, and then the Igbos, and then there are all of these other wonderful ethnic groups in my country that are valid and needed and necessary. You see, white men are also apologizing this year, and also me, because I'm recognizing I think we should all be recognizing our collective and individual privileges in our spaces, because if an Igbo person's watching, they might be like, ah, she tried to eat. And I'm like, listen, I'm acknowledging that we're problematic. Okay.
Wow, that is very generous. It's extremely generous of you, Marian. Appreciate it. Holy moly. Anyway,
But
before,
Yoruba is my where we come from.
yes,
And then on
yes.
my Ghanaian side, we're Ashanti, and it's 25%. But my mom, who's passed now, she passed in 2006.
Sorry.
May she rest in peace. She was so connected to her root. Her father is a Ghanaian man, my grandfather. Um, and the thing about that is that um when my grandfather came to Nigeria, he was leaving like they were I think like the governing class of where they were, and they were
Mhm.
being kind of what happened to some of the Russian elites, and kind of what happened to a few of the. I like to describe
Sure.
it in ways where you can imagine. So there's been a lot of problematic situations everywhere, and it makes sense why people want to chop off some rich people's heads. But the point is,
Right.
he found his way to Nigeria, married my wonderful grandmother. They both have the same last names, and so she never had to lose her name. And that marriage produced 10 kids.
Holy cow.
My mother being the second to the last of those 10 kids. And so she was very like, whereas my aunts did not, I didn't experience them talking about our Ghanaian side. My mother did. My mother connected with a Ghanaian woman here in America. And so strangely enough, when she passed, that woman, who was much older than my mom, she came to the funeral, and she was actually someone that was like a beacon of light for me when I wanted to kill everybody in that experience, because people show their asses when people
Oh my
when death is involved. Like, our families show their asses, and it's like, why y'all showing your asses now? Why don't you show your ass when there's a wedding or when y'all are rich or something? Y'all show your ass when death happens. I guess it's how, as humans, we cope. But anyways, I didn't mean to put
let's
ass in the
That's okay.
situation.
Let's unpack that just a tiny bit. So how would people behave? Like what
Yeah, sure, no
like
problem.
how badly?
I'm an open book. Let me tell you. Okay, there was contracts like where my mom had, I guess, like $25,000 that she took out of, I don't know where, but God bless her, to, like, pay for things, just so that
Sure.
we didn't have any debt that we had to deal with her, because she took care of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
She had insurance, like, she just did. She was a dope lady. She's like, da 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 da. I want this money to go here and here and here. And one of my ratchet ass aunts was like, I'm just gonna go to the hospital and take this money and give it to some random lawyer, and have that lawyer be the power of attorney all of a sudden of $25,000. You don't think my dad could have used that for the funeral? My dad had to raise $12,000 out of nowhere,
Oh.
because why? Inevitably, they were ratchet. Okay, when people are ratchet, it's important that we say it. They were ratchet, and they were like, it was kind of like a fight, like a, let me just kind of stick it, like, yeah, where are you gonna raise this money? And my dad, being a nuclear physicist, I don't like,
Yeah.
I say it because there's layers to this, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't say it. So that's why you have 6 kids, buddy. You should say it. We should say it. So not only did he have 6 kids that love him, he raised 11 of his 26 siblings. My dad is coming from a different energy of caregiving and dopeness, right? And so he handled it with so much grace. I did not.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying, because and they're teachable moments for me, and they're teachable moments that I like to speak out into the ether, so we can all remember to one, leave space for each other and be kind to each other, you know.
That must be so frustrating and sad and insulting when um, someone you love dies and people come out of the woodwork and are um,
You
and do
can say
terrible
it. You
things.
can say
Yeah.
ratchet.
Right. Um, I lost my folks just 2.5 years ago, and for the most part, all within a very short period of time of one another. And for the most, I mean, I would say like we were so lucky that because I don't know, 99 times out of 100 people were very cool. There were a couple of
Mm,
moments when people weren't cool. Um, I don't think anybody was sort of downright terrible.
mm,
In the way that you've described. But what I'm saying is I can imagine. I know what I have felt like losing someone, and I can only imagine how absolutely terrible it must feel to have anything short of at least support, if not love and etc. Anything short of that just feels raw and terrible. And
yeah. Oh, and so the point of that, me launching into that, was to give credit to my Ghanaian side because it was that one Ghanaian lady that my mom called her aunt and loved her so much, and they spent 15 years just celebrating each other. It was that woman that put grace in my heart that day.
oh, that's beautiful.
And that was the point. Yeah, that's what I wanted
Yeah.
to leave with. Like, you never know who's going to be that person that gives you life and grace in like difficult moments, you know? And she did that. And I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, she sounds like a very special person. And then your Ghanaian side is in there and strong.
The
You know,
25%,
the
I appreciate
25%. Someone else in the chat asks, how did your parents meet and get together? Was it at a university setting?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, let me tell y'all. So Pops
It's one of
was
those
like,
character voices, y'all.
straight he was a DJ, okay?
Oh,
Obsessed with James Brown, right? They were
I
at a
love it.
he was, DJing a university party and slash low key a professor as well. So I don't know how like that makes sense. But anyways,
I
so
love it.
he was DJing, and my mom, being her fly cute self, goes up to him and is like, "Hey DJ, can you play that latest James Brown?" And my dad was like, "Hold on a second. I don't know if I'm going to play it." And my mom was like,
Oh,
"Oh, you better play it or else." And my dad was like, "Oh my gosh, she's giving me an ultimatum. I low key love this lady." But he didn't tell her that. It was
no.
like the thing that like, it was like, oh my God, like this woman, because my mom was like 5'4" and my dad's 6'3". So it's like, imagine this tiny, cute lady
Yeah.
talking to this and just, doing this with her hands and going, pa, 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 pa. And that's where it started.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I was a DJ, so I relate to your dad. So we can talk
Oh,
about nuclear physics and DJ stuff, me and
and
your dad.
DJ stuff.
Um, that is such an adorable story. And there's a great documentary, The Night James Brown Saved Boston, that people should watch.
Ooh.
Uh, there's a lot of, we have a chatty chat tonight, y'all. There's a lot of questions coming in on the chat. Um, and thank you, Allison, our moderator, for staying on top of those. Marian,
Yeah.
um, did you find like so your first audience was your family and your and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, were was it always like were you a natural comedian or were you just a natural attention getter or what was
Mm.
your style that that you developed? I know for me I was just sort of obsessed with having attention.
Interest. I think probably, yeah, because there's like six of us, right, in the house, or there was five of us then when I came into the world. Um, I think it came with being a very I was a premature baby. I was supposed to be
Mm.
born in October, but I was born in August. And so I think it came with like that idea of I'm gonna say biology or physiologically. I don't know if that's a word, but like I
That
think it
makes
was
sense.
like it was the idea of like I need to survive. And then it's like being in a big family. Oh, I need to stand out some way. And my mom, in fact, says that the way they knew that I was a performer, because in my country, they fed us like soy milk, but like it was like from the seeds and it was grounded into milk, and so that fattened me up very quickly. And
Mm.
so I went from being premature to being a fat baby, like chubbed, like you didn't see my neck, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they used to say no neck wumi. Wumi, if you know me, you they call me Wumi.
Okay.
Wumi.
Wumi.
Yeah, that's my Yoruba name, Adewunmi. And so I think my mom said that there was a moment where she was like, oh, she's a performer. When they turn on the music, we're all inside of the palo, that's living room. We're all inside of the palo together, right?
Yeah.
And then the music is on, and apparently I was just like this. And all that was rolling was my neck and my face. And everyone was like, what's she doing? You know? And my mom goes, turn off the music. And then I would stop. And then they turn on the music and I would
Oh man.
roll my neck. And
Oh, I
then
love it.
and that's how it started. And then like there's all this great music like Fela Kuti,
Oh yeah.
Shino Pito, Baba, what is his name?
Baba
Um
Mal.
Peter, I can't think of the name right now, but Sunny Ade, yeah. So
Okay.
these are the music that like informed my me growing up, because that was the music that was played. Sunny
Yeah.
Ade, Peter Shino, Fela Kuti, right? And so whenever that music would come on, they call it Afro Juju.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever that music would come on, it's like do 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 do, and then there would be like a like all this music laced into it.
Of course.
Apparently, I would lose my damn mind and just get on the floor and just dance, and like we call it spraying. So they give you money. They put money when someone is like being jubilant, child, you know, it's usually in wedding and party situations. And I would just lose it. I didn't care about the money. The music just took me. And that has always been there for
I
me.
love it. Yeah. I played all those guys on my radio show back in the day. I love King Sunny Ade. Um,
What?
yeah. So oh gosh, I'm trying to reach for. So you have this Nigerian community in Los Angeles, and
Yeah.
then you have to go to school,
Ooh.
and then you come back, and then you go back to school. You go, um, and then media, of course,
Yeah.
not just American media, but white culture media, et cetera, et cetera. Um, like I don't know what the question is, but am I? Do you think that sort of seesaw back and forth between this culture and this loving family
Mm.
versus what you were exposed in the media and at school, do you think that ends up being like a net positive for you as an actor and comedian?
Totes,
Okay.
totes, totes. Because right, I feel like as comedians, we kind of have dark spirits, because like a lot
Yeah.
of shit happened to us, or we're just super empathetic humans that are just, we're exposed because our energy is light energy,
Mm.
and so a lot of people receive us, and I feel like that means we take in a lot of energy, light and dark energy,
Yeah.
you know and it kind of like weighs us down, and our job is to we got to kick it out, right? And so and so I believe that that and
I was just reading about someone, um, gosh, Oh man, it might have been Cicely Tyson. Somebody said that same thing. Somebody
Oh,
said, look, somebody said it falls on, they said specifically it falls on black women to take and make, it might have been,
mm,
oh shoot, I wish I could remember who the
wow.
quote was. To take this exposure to this scary, ignorant, dark, uh, oppressive energy um,
Like
churn out,
breathe life into it.
breathe life into it, and bring
Yeah.
and light and joy. Um, and wow, it's just amazing that you said that same quote that I just read.
Coolness, coolness.
Yeah,
So, with a combination of that, and then I was just talking to my partner about it that, as parents, it's our jobs, depending on where you fit in this, in the spectrum of privilege, in whatever space you are. If you're aware of the privilege that you are and adjacent to the society that you live in, it falls on us as parents to inform our children of where they are, right?
yeah,
And so if I'm happy I had a son first, because it's important for me to fill him with the tools to be able to navigate this American system, but also give him the tools to recognize his privilege as a male in this experience, and how it's going to fall on him the responsibility of, if he chooses a partner, and it happens to be a woman, to literally do what? To recognize his male privilege, to not, um, you know, beat her down emotionally, psychologically, and certainly not physically, because mama's gonna come back from the grave and smack you up so far up and down. I don't, I'm,
you're not
but
having
you
it.
know what I'm, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not having it. And so, like, it's important for me to let him know that, like, your partner, if you choose that partner to be a woman, there's a lot of things that you have to be aware of, that you have to, like, be sensitive about. There's going to be power struggles financially, like those types of things, where it's like, you don't want to, like, if she makes more money than you, because women are dope, and most likely you're going to have a boss that's a woman, right? And a wife. And so how does that feel, like being a man in this society, having to give up that kind of power? You're not going to be a douchebag because now your wife and your boss is a woman, right? Right. So, like, those are the conversations we have to have with our male sons, right? And but then, as now to a new mom, to a daughter, I'm like so open and exposed to how sensitive I didn't know I was a sensitive person, because I always come off pretty crass. I'm like, don't do it. You remember the class? I was like, remember who I said it to, Mike? And you
Yes.
you you were like, and I was like, I
Mm.
said, we are doing Tennessee Williams, but if you use the N word or anything, like, you make me my status your servant, it will be a teachable moment. And
Yeah.
so, like, I am that person, but also having a daughter now, it's opened my sensitivity to, like, a crazy place. One, because she's so sweet. Like, her personality is what I'm saying, not
Yeah.
baby, but like her personality is like, I want to spend time with you,
Yeah.
and that's sweet, you know?
Yeah.
And because she's a girl, and I know what I experienced as a woman navigating this space, I'm like, oh my God, I want to cross all the T's and I's, and I want to make sure that she understands that the man is not the prize. You
Ah,
are the prize.
yes.
You are the prize, and you are the prize alone or with a partner, whether it's a
Yes.
woman, man, whatever you decide. Like, you are the prize. And gosh, I think I honor Michelle Obama 100 times when she says, "Don't listen to your friends; they are idiots." Right? In her
Yeah.
book Becoming, she's talking about how she's advising her daughters, and I'm like, oh my God, like, and my mother did the same thing. It's and my aunts did it, and it's like, it's funny because as ratchet as my aunts were, I see the love in the ratchetness
I mean, that's
because
family.
like they're like they just want you to just be aware. Like I don't have a degree because I wanted a degree. I wanted to jump into these Hollywood streets when I was 2. I was like, put the camera on me, camera on me.
Look at this neck.
Look at this neck. But like, yeah, my parents were like, no, you like they were pushing PhD, and I clearly after the bachelor's, I was like, I'm done. I'm gonna I like to read, but I'm like,
what's your bachelor's?
I did communications because that's what every person that does want to be in school does.
Oh yeah.
I did communications, but specifically it was called speech then, but then it shifted to public policy, which I ended up loving because
that's cool.
It informed me as well. It's like, it's not necessarily political science, but public policy, and in the sense of why is it important to civic duty? Why is it important? Civic duty is not something that is important because it necessarily affects me. Civic duty is important because it affects the most marginalized person in that experience.
Amen.
And that marginalized person can be any of us at any time. At any time. Being a divorced person, I was divorced at a very young age. I married at 19 and divorced at 23. What does that mean in terms of socioeconomics?
Yeah.
Socioeconomic wise, I was a married lady, right? So I was okay in that family. As soon as I divorced, that socioeconomic level dropped really quickly in terms of, now I'm exposed to the what it means to be the most marginalized person in this system. And boy, do I honor the people that gave me kindness and respect in that experience. And boy, do I remember those who pushed me down with their knuckles. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so civic duty, it's the reason why we do it, the involvement of it is to be able to hold ourselves up to what these founding fathers, these framers attempted for America specifically to be one day. I don't think it's what America was. I think it's the hope of what can be.
It's the perpetually imperfect, but hopefully trying to become better scenario. But civic duty and public policy and your experience as an immigrant who had these had this very split world. I mean, luckily you had the both a great family and a great community around you. But then your exposure to popular culture and media and et cetera, and then at school, I mean, your kids have an amazing experienced person to learn from. I mean, to have a 13-year-old boy in this day and age and a new baby girl in this day and age, and your experiences, you are well equipped to make sure that they're on the right path, which is
you're gonna have to ask Seth, because let me tell you, I realized I was problematic when the pediatrician was like, "You sent him what article?" I said, "I sent him the article about COVID and how it's important that he takes in these specific vitamins, and you can take it through eating and she said, what? Did you say he was 13? I said, yes, he's 13. Okay, he's had this mother for 13 years, so he is well equipped to handle my nonsense. Okay, maybe another child different, but like my child."
How did you how did you first get exposed, or do you remember your first exposure to improv comedy, or was your first interest like character comedy, or was it stand-up, or was it like, what was the first thing that said, like, you know what, showbiz, yes, attention, yes, but more specifically this? What do you remember, like a turning point where it was like?
Yeah, I do. Mark Rich. It was his class, one of the courses I took at Long Beach State, and he was coming from a different perspective. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is improv. What is improv? Like, and the way he was coming at our theories and then allowing us to just play, I was like, one, I'm going to speak for me, as specifically me as a Black woman, we're not necessarily allotted the energy and time to play. Everything has to be already perfect, right? Everything already has to be put together. And the thing about what we do as artists, it's all messy. Like that's what I think we love about our films. Messy characters, layered characters. But if my existence, at least out in the world, is supposed to be already put together, my hair needs to be European straight. European straight. And you know, not Brazilian straight, but European straight. My skin needs to be as Pocahontas color. That's how you take me in. Like all of these things. Then how do I have the opportunity to play? You know? And I'm a mom. I'm a caregiver. I was a caregiver for over 10 years. And one thing that I know is important to development as a human is the idea of playing, because that's where you get to mess up and you get to build and find your little gem that will slowly be a masterpiece. And if you can't play and you're second guessing yourself and questioning yourself and you have low confidence, you know, how do I source myself as an artist? I'm gonna just spend my entire existence taking from this person, taking from this. That's what I am versus who am I specifically as an artist, right?
Sure.
And so that class really like was a nice like in terms of in terms of outside in the world. I was invited to play because my mom was an educator all the time in my damn house. That's why I didn't understand why I got in trouble when I went out into the world. I got to speak up when my father was speaking with other men. So, you know, they're talking about politics or they're talking about basketball. I was like, what do you mean Scottie Pippen? Scottie Pippen, no. Okay. First of all, why is Scottie? No. It's all about Dennis Rodman. Rebounds now. He knew who he was. He knows you know, like I was allowed to do that in this company of men and they didn't tell me to shut up. But like, I that's what I experienced out in the world, right? That. Yeah. And so it was very confusing, but that class was like kind of the first time where out in the world, someone said, you can do what you do at home. You can do what you do in front of the mirror. You can do what you do, you know, with the people that are you consider safe.
You can be yourself and not be afraid to fail. And take risks and etc. And then you started doing stuff in Los Angeles. You started doing like Second City and UCB and all these other places.
Well, years later, because I again, you know, out in the world, it takes a while. It probably took like 10 years. It took 10 years to kind of peel that layer of understanding that I was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So I did it quietly, right? So I'm doing it by taking classes where no one knows me. I'm doing it by like taking in reading. I'm doing it by performing on stage, but never going Hollywood. No. That's like, you know, like this. It's more, you know, for fulfillment thing, right? And so yeah, I think it took some time to like peel off that layer of, you know, you can really do this thing, like you can do it. And so I say 10 years because I think it's important to recognize how psychologically the way that sometimes the world gifts you with the good and the bad can take a hold or help you flourish. And if you recognize that early enough, you can at least just like, circle it and be like, oh, okay. Like I wish cognitively I could be like, oh, like back then, in my 20s, I wish I could have been like, oh, okay. The reason why you're like this, because like your family, immediate circle nurtured this, and the reason why you're still like, oh my God, why am I know I'm the shit, but why am I not confident out in the world? Oh, the reason is that like I wish I could have dissected that. But that's life.
That's life. I mean, we free ourselves from like the shell that we create, and then another shell starts growing, and we kind of retreat again, etc. And I'm glad you found your way to impro, selfishly, because you're a bright shining light.
Oh,
Um, uh, so we're running out of time for the Twitch version of this interview. We'll continue a little bit afterwards, and it'll be on a podcast that will come up in the future. However, let's get to a couple of plugs real quick. So you are one of the co-founders of the Black Women in Comedy Festival. And is that coming up soon, or I don't remember what time of
oh,
year that happens?
yeah. It usually comes in May, but because of the pandemic, I just want to honor what we did this year to next year. So the third annual will be coming in October,
Okay.
as it came this year.
Okay. And there was another, forgive me, I didn't write it down, but there's
Oh,
another festival that
yeah.
you mentioned that I forgot.
Yeah, the Afro Civilization Fair, that's going to be coming online in May. And you can see that on my website, www.marianyusufu.com. It's like something that I've been wanting to do forever. And I reached out to city officials and different colleges about it, but I never got a response. And so I'm like, well, if it's to be, it's literally up to me. And what a great opportunity to do it now that everyone's at home, you know?
I love that you just dropped that quote, because that's one of the like aphorisms or quotes that I was such a nerd about, like personal improvement books and stuff back in the day. And if it is to be, it's up to me is one of those quotes that just like sticks in your mind.
Yes. Another one
So
I love is like, there's no cavalry coming.
wow, that could be interpreted as a negative. But it just means, get it together and make something happen. What kind of things are going to happen at the fair? Like seeing as how it's
Yeah.
online and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's like my chance to just geek out on African culture and what subsequently the Black indigenous folks in all of our continents have given to the world as it is. So
Yeah.
I've gotten some sick stuff internationally, some great films, a drummer from Brazil, just like documentaries, films, just and speakers
Cool.
informing us of what Black indigenous people have given. And again, going back to play, when I experienced and performed in the Renaissance Fair, one thing that I couldn't stop telling my partner, I was like, did you see how much fun it was? It was so much fun. Ah! I was like, I ate chicken. Wah! I got to play. Wah! They were carving knives. Wah! Like I just lost it at how much I enjoyed that experience. And I was like, wait a second. Look at how, all these white kids and all these white people are having so much fun taking in their Danish culture, their Scottish culture, their German, all of that stuff. Perhaps instead of, just forcing, like negative energy down our children's throat, perhaps it's like an invitation to play. Like, come hear this drummer play some Yoruba music from Brazil. And that way, the connection between the Yoruba language and culture and the Black people in Brazil. Come listen to this French dope rapper, hip hop rapper, talk about his experience being Black in France. Did you know there were Black people in France?
Fantastic.
You know what I mean? Like that kind
Yes.
of energy. So like that's what we're gonna be doing. We're just gonna be taking in and celebrating those things. And then it'll be cool
Um,
to do it live when we're allowed to be out in these streets.
for people that are just listening, it's Marian, Marian, Yesufu, Yesufu.com.
Yes.
Um, that is a really cool thing. And two Impro shows that we're just launching tonight. Actually, if you're listening or watching this on February 13th, 2021, the debut of Black Magic School,
Wow.
um, wizardry, and etc. spells, and then debuting next Friday, and then continuing both Fridays and Saturdays. On Fridays it will be 90s sitcom, and on Saturdays it'll be Black Magic School for a bit
Amazing.
now. And then those shows will continue into March. I'm not sure if they're both going to still be at 9:30 in March, but we'll see. So that's exciting. Tatiana Godfrey and Marian are the co-creators and co-directors of both of those shows. And that's right here at improtheater.com on our Twitch channel. So that's
It's so
exciting.
cool.
Do you
It's
have
so
thoughts? Do you have some hype that you want to share with the world about those shows?
I just think Tatiana is the dopest teacher, dopest like artist. The way she sees things is like so cool. I want to honor you, Mike, in terms of being a white man who did it right. In terms of he was like, I'm gonna produce, and then he gave us space. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for that in how you teach in your classes. I thank you for that in how you navigate these streets. It's so dope. I will never forget. You gave us I think it was probably some kind of difficult time and we just didn't know how to communicate it. And then you gave us all these pocket constitution books in our Tennessee Williams class. And I don't think I said it to you, but I was like, dog nabbit. I was so happy. And I gave that to my son because I don't know if you've looked at the back, but the back has so many specific things of what to do when you encounter a police officer. And it was
Yep.
so coming from a succinct energy versus my mom energy. Let's just keep it real. My hella black mom energy of don't do it if you see the man, just don't. Like that's where I come from, and that's too much for a kid sometimes, right? Unless I'm making him laugh, which I make him laugh all the time, and that makes me happy. But that was a practical thing that I could just go, here you go. You have all these years to take it in little by little. And he does. And we talk about it little by little. So, you know, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I love it. I'm privileged and honored. That's amazing. I love hearing that. Well, we are desperately out of time. So we're going to have to do part two someday, not long from now, and get more into comedy and theater. Um, let me just quickly, I'll just ask out loud if Allison, if there are any other questions, we could probably sneak in one more question, but otherwise we're going to run shy on time right quick. Any other thoughts, Marian, about in general? Oh yeah, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
Hi, I've never done any performing or any acting, but I feel like I would like to. What should I do? What's your advice for the person out there who's thinking of the performing arts?
I think um find a good school. I think if you're in LA or now anywhere, you can take a class at Impro. So that's one. But I also think that take the time now to take inventory of yourself, your surroundings. In order to be a successful artist, we need to be critical thinkers. We need to be healthy psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. And so take inventory of those things. Where are you in that landscape? Financially, where are you? And so start planning, start saving. If you are someone that, if you're earning an income, maybe instead of just like, especially if you're a person of color, our privilege is already in us. Okay, the privilege of being a tight Black person is gonna carry you. So know that. Don't stress about that. But the other thing, right? So if you're a teacher or something, don't. I mean, There's people that have left because they're ready to go because they're already formed, right? But I would say maybe save that money a little bit and then come, so that you're not stressing over those types of things, so that when you are going into these offices and into these spaces, you're healthy, you're balanced enough to be able to receive the gifts that God wants for you. And I think that's how you move through this thing.
Lovely and beautiful. Thank you, Marian. Uh, Thank you, Allison Inconstanti, for being our moderator, Rachel Resnick for being our OBS operator tech, and for you for watching and or listening now or in the future. Marian Yesufu is a force to be reckoned with, marianyusufu.com. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Marian.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you all next time.